So I was sitting around thinking, gee, I sure like making videos about characters from the book of Genesis, but I can't think of another topic in that vein to explore. Darn, I guess I'll delete my channel. But then Peter Morbacher hit me up and said, hi, I'm the creator of Angelarium. Would it be cool if I sponsored you to talk about my art book, The Book of Watchers? It's got a bunch of baller artwork of angels from the Bible and other Abrahamic texts. And I also wrote up a bunch of character profiles, short stories, and poems to tie them into my own fleshed out mythology. So maybe you could do that thing where you first summarize the original ancient myths that inspired my work and then talk about how I spun it off into something cool and unique. Huh, wow, maybe there is a god. So the Angelarium's Book of Watchers is primarily inspired by traditions surrounding a man called Enoch and a mysterious group called the Nephilim. Enoch was the sixth descendant of Adam through the line of Seth, and he is a very, very minor character in the Bible itself. But the little information we're provided about him in Genesis at least hints at a larger story. Quote, Enoch lived 65 years, then became the father of Methuselah. After Methuselah's birth, Enoch walked with God for 300 years and became the father of more sons and daughters. All the days of Enoch were 365 years. Enoch walked with God, and he was not found, for God took him. Just a few verses after the story of Enoch, we get another curious and seemingly completely unrelated passage. Quote, when men began to multiply on the surface of the ground, and daughters were born to them, God's sons, likely referring to heavenly beings like angels, saw that men's daughters were beautiful, and they took any that they wanted for themselves as wives. The Lord said, my spirit shall not strive with man forever, because he also is flesh, so his days will be 120 years. The Nephilim were in the earth in those days, and also after that, when God's sons came into men's daughters and had children with them. Those were the mighty men who were of old, men of renown. After this, we suddenly jump into the story of Noah's Ark, where God sees that humans are corrupted by evil and plans to destroy them with a global flood. The so-called Nephilim are mentioned in the Torah only once more. In Numbers chapter 13, some spies sent into the land of Canaan claim to have seen the descendants of the Nephilim, and basically describe them as super tall dudes. When reading these passages today, it very much feels like we're missing information that the original author just assumed we would know. There were likely stories about Enoch explaining why God took him, and stories about the Nephilim who sound a lot like your classic ancient folk heroes with divine heritage. But these traditions simply didn't survive, and later interpreters were left only to speculate on who these people were. A product of this speculation is the Book of Enoch, a Jewish apocalyptic text probably written around 300 BCE. This book attempts to elaborate on the story of Enoch that was only hinted at in Genesis. Now, the Book of Enoch is an apocryphal text, meaning today it's not considered authoritative by most Jewish and Christian sects, and therefore isn't included in most Bibles. The most notable exception is the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, which adopted a much broader biblical canon that includes Enoch. The first major section of the text is known as the Book of Watchers, and obviously that's where Angelarium got the name for their book. It describes how a group of 200 angels called the Watchers came down to Earth and immediately started thirsting after human women. However, Shemyaza, the leader of the Watchers, knew he would get in trouble with upper management if he had an affair with a mortal. So he did the only sensible thing and made all the other Watchers swear to join him on his interspecies sex bender. That way, at least he wouldn't be punished alone. The wives chosen by the Watchers soon gave birth to the Nephilim, who were ravenous giants. And when the humans were not able to produce enough food for them, they expanded their diets to include pretty much anything that moves. Meanwhile, each of the Watchers began to corrupt human civilization by teaching the secret arts of heaven. Azael taught people how to use metal to forge weapons and jewelry, and also the use of makeup. Shemyaza and Hermani taught them how to wield magic, and the angels Barakel, Kokabel, Zekel, Ardakoff, Shamziel, and Sariel each taught how to interpret astrological signs. And as all this was going on, the archangels Michael, Uriel, Raphael, and Gabriel looked down on Earth and said, sir, you're gonna want to take a look at this. God then put together a plan to deal with the insubordinate angels and their monstrous offspring. He would command the archangels to bind the Watchers and bury them in the ground to await their punishment on Judgment Day. Then they would destroy the descendants of the Watchers and cleanse humanity of its corruption with a flood that that would wipe out everyone except for Noah and his family, who weren't actually born yet, so this plan would have to wait a minute. In the meantime, Noah's future great-grandfather, Enoch, was snatched up by the archangels and told to give the rebellious Watchers a heads up for the smiting they were about to endure. Hey guys, so, you're kind of fucked. This news was understandably upsetting for the Watchers, so they asked Enoch to write up a petition as a desperate plea for forgiveness on their behalf. Enoch began reciting this petition to God, but he got bored in the middle and fell asleep. He then had a dream where the archangels took him to see where the Watchers would be imprisoned, and revealed the ultimate doom that they and all others who rebel against God would face on Judgment Day. Afterward, Enoch woke up and returned to deliver God's response to the Watchers' petition. Hey again, fellas! Yeah, you're still fucked. And that's about where the Book of Watchers ends. But the tradition of iterating on pre-existing mythology to add more depth and character has of course carried on all the way into the present day. Just like the Book of Enoch expanded on a couple short passages from the Torah, Angelarium has pulled from Enoch and other related traditions to create its own rich and not to mention gorgeously illustrated mythology. Angelarium's Book of Watchers tells the stories of the fallen angels from their perspectives, and we're provided a much more vivid sense of the angels' personalities and roles than ever before. Here, they're not just divine servants, but physical embodiments of nature and human psychology. Shamyaza, fittingly designated as the Angel of Pride, was the first of the Watchers to form a personal identity. He called his 199 brethren down to earth and bestowed them their names, and in return, they crowned him as their king. And then each of the Watchers went forth to make their mark on humanity. Azazel, the Angel of Sacrifice, benevolently sought to help humankind, but his pure intentions tragically backfired when humans' use of weaponry led them to catastrophe, and Azazel was the first of the Watchers to be blamed for corrupting men. Angelarium also takes extremely obscure angels from the Book of Enoch and other works who only get a passing mention, and makes them into more fleshed out characters. Kokabel, the Angel of Stars, was a childlike Watcher who longed to return to the heavens from which he came. He possessed the unique ability to interpret signs from the stars, though nobody but him could make any sense of his prophecies. Zekiel, the Angel of Purity, aided humans by teaching them medicine, even though they were a bit put off by his creepypasta-looking face. He also tried his best to explain germ theory to them, but it was a bit over their heads. Barakel, the Angel of Lightning, attempted to teach humans how to harness electricity, and he was the first of the Watchers to fly too close to the sun and pay the price. His death would be among the first alarming signs of the Watchers' impending doom. And this is just a very small portion of the angels you can learn about in the book. As the overarching story of the book continues, you see how each of the Watchers respond to the bad omens around them, leading up to their ultimate demise and setting up the next phase of the story. Oh yeah, did I mention the Book of Watchers is part of a series? The Angelarium also has the Book of Emanations, which catalogs the heavenly angels Enoch meets after his ascension. This one's actually the first book in the series, but you can jump in with either. Now, these books are hard to find at a fair price on Amazon or secondhand markets, but on the official Angelarium store, you can get them both for $70 at the time of recording this video. That's $70 total, not a piece. And if you're as in love with Peter Moorbacher's art as I am, the Angelarium store also has countless beautiful art prints of each angel and other merchandise. Oh, and by the way, you can use promo code W at checkout to get 20% off any purchase. A lot of the time, learning about ancient mythology feels like trying to put together a puzzle with only a handful of pieces. So much information is simply lost. So I love seeing projects like Angelarium that expand on mythology to create a story and characters with the kind of detail we wish we could find in older sources. You can click the link in the description to purchase Angelarium's The Book of Watchers and explore the fascinating world they've created. And of course, don't forget to use promo code W for 20% off on your purchase. Thanks so much to Angelarium for sponsoring this video.